You tapping in real quick for this UFC 314 that's fitting to take place Saturday evening. It's going down in an arena that I do not know how to pronounce correctly, but it will be taking place in Miami, Florida. We have 13 fights, and that main event is a bang out in the featherweight division between Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopez. I do appreciate y'all for tapping in. This video right here, this is the full card breakdown and predictions. I'll do my absolute best as not to hold y'all ear hostage for too long, but you already know how that goes. You know what I'm talking about? Not necessarily sure what that lineup's going to look like come fight night, but this is the lineup that I have in front of me today. So this is very much so the one that we're going to rock with. You know what I'm talking about? Let's go ahead and dive into it, man. First fight of the night, women's MMA, low level women's MMA, in my personal opinion. A fight that I want absolutely nothing to do with, not in any way, shape, form, or fashion. For the sake of a pick, I am going to go ahead and rock with Nora to be the one to get this one done in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Maybe she finds the finish if it presents itself. Maybe she wins this one via unanimous decision, 2-1. Maybe it's a clean sweep, 3-1, 30-27 type situation all the way across the cards. You know what I'm talking about? But for a fight that I want absolutely nothing to do with, Nora is going to be the pick. I know she's coming off of a loss via split decision, if I'm not mistaken, to Jacqueline. And on the other side, Haley's coming off of a loss. I believe the last time she fought in 2023 was against Jamie Lynn Horth, who she took a loss to. So, you know, it is what it is, man. No excitement level for this fight. Understand what I'm saying to you? No high level of interest for this fight, man. So, Nora's the pick, and we moving on. Trayshawn Gore versus Marco. My bad. Nora's currently a minus 190 favorite to Haley's plus 160. Nora's 35, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach, and Haley is 33, 5'8" with a 69.3-inch reach. So Haley has a 2-year youth advantage for what it's worth, 33 to 35, a 1-inch height advantage, and a 2.3 reach advantage. She's 7-3 to Nora's 8-2. Nora's the pick. Trayshawn, Marco, both of them 30 years old, both of them 6 feet tall. Trayshawn has a half-inch reach advantage at 75 inches to Marco's 74.5. There's nothing magnificent about either one of these young men, in my personal opinion. I am not a fan of Trayshawn Gore, and, you know, I have not found myself too high on Marco Tulio. So this is another fight that I don't have a high level of interest in. You understand what I'm saying to you? But it is what it is, and for the sake of a pick, I'm rocking with Marco. He's a minus 355 moderate favorite to Trayshawn's plus 280 dog tag. And it just is what it is, man. You know, I know Trayshawn has the, 5-2. Marco's 13-1. Trayshawn, one might want to believe, has been in there, with the higher level of opposition, but I don't know that to be the case. That used to be the case when you had, been over here in the UFC, taking a little run at it. But the UFC's level of opposition ain't what the UFC's level of opposition used to be. So while he has a few fights in the UFC, they're against Antonio Tricali for a win. Congratulations. Josh Frem for a win. Congratulations. Cody Brundage for a loss, a stoppage loss. Not a good look. Brian Battle, loss via decision. And I think Gilbert Ubrina, I think that win over Gilbert on the Ultimate Fighter via knockout was very deceiving, because I think a lot of people believed Gilbert Ubrina was going to be a bit more, than what he was, what he is. You understand what I'm saying to you? So that win over Gilbert was a bit deceiving, man. And it kind of, put people on the side of Trayshawn, thinking he was going to be a little bit more than what he has been. You understand what I'm saying to you? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he might have even been a favorite going into that fight with Brian Battle that he lost. You know what I'm talking about? But it is what it is, man. The level of opposition that he's been competing up against unfortunately, although it's been in the UFC, there's been no significant difference in the level of opposition that he's been competing against. You know, when you put it up against what Marco Tulio's been competing against, there's no. It used to be that when a motherfucker had been fighting in the UFC and he had 4 or 5, a handful of fights under his belt in the UFC, you know, you could say that he had been in there with the higher level of opposition. You could also kind of give him the experience edge from being in there with the more experienced fighters. You understand what I'm saying to you? That doesn't ring true these days anymore. You know what I'm talking about? The UFC has flooded the promotion with prospects, untested, unbattle tested, you know what I mean, individuals that are just not a legitimate level of opposition in every division, just all through the promotion. So it is what it is, man. No significant difference in the level of opposition they've been facing. I just like what I've seen from Tulio a bit more. Trayshawn's going to bring it, you know, at plus 280. He's a dog that's going to fight for your money for what it's worth. I just don't know how well it's going to work out for him. Moving on. So, I don't know how you say the Tibetan Eagle. The Tibetan Eagle versus Mitch Raposo. And you can give me the Tibetan Eagle, man. I'm not high on Mitch Raposo. I wasn't high on Mitch outside of the UFC. I wasn't high on Mitch when he found his way to the UFC. They put him up against Andre Lima. We took Andre Lima. That was a dub. You know what I'm talking about? Now, I'm not saying that Sumajeri, or however you say the Tibetan Eagle's name, is that guy. Of course, you know, he's on a 3-fight skid. Charles Johnson via unanimous decision. Tim Elliott choked his ass out. Matt Schnell choked his ass out. You know what I mean? Before that, beating Malcolm Gordon and the other boy Z.A., whose name I don't know how to pronounce, and Suckermouth. Like, none of that impresses me. Losing to Lewis Smoker, you know what I mean? Like, and Lewis Smoker is not even that guy. Lewis Smoker had his time. Maybe Lewis Smoker had a little bit of steam back here at 13-3 in 2018 when he fought old boy in armbarring, but it's really nothing going on the Tibetan Eagles side of things that makes me want to just comfortably jump behind him. You know what I'm talking about? But Mitch, man, come on. You can miss me with Mitch, man. Honestly, the Tibetan Eagle, I believe, is just a, you know, bit better absolutely everywhere as far as being a mixed martial artist. You understand what I'm saying to you? Maybe if this was a pure wrestling match, Mitch would be successful, but it's not. He's going to get punched. He's going to get kicked. Takedowns are going to get stuffed. He's going to get reversed. He might fall victim to a takedown of his own. You understand what I'm saying to you? In his own right. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, man. The Tibetan Eagle, 29 years old, 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. Mitch, 26 years old, 5'5" with a 64.5-inch reach. So the Tibetan Eagles got, what, a 3-inch height advantage and a 7.5-inch reach advantage. I believe that height advantage and that reach advantage are very much going to play into his advantage when it comes to keeping Mitch at the end of his strikes. You understand what I'm saying to you? I think he might actually hurt Mitch here and get him out of there inside the distance, but that's just my personal opinion. The Tibetan Eagle is the pick. Jesus, these fucking fights, man. Cedricus Dumas. Oh, man. The Tibetan Eagles are minus 225 to Mitch's plus 185. My bad. Dumas plus 165 underdog, 29 years old, 6'2" with a 79-inch reach. McCall minus 205 favorite, 30 years old, 6 foot tall with a 74-inch reach. Do I think the height and reach will come into play and play into Dumas's advantage as much as it will into the Tibetan Eagles' advantage in his matchup with Mitch? No, I don't believe so. I think McCall can crash that distance, rip the body, come over the top, possibly take this thing to the ground if he fucking feels like it. I just think he's a bit too much for Cedricus Dumas to handle. It is a fight. Anything can happen. You know, maybe the Reaper gets him the fuck up out of there or finds a way to get this one done, finds a way to make that 2-inch height advantage and 5-inch reach advantage play very much so into his advantage and keep McCall on the end of his shots. I just don't know that Cedric possesses that kind of pop to get that kind of respect out of Macau. You understand what I'm saying to you? Plus, with that being said, Macau is also the kind of individual that he doesn't really respect your pop. You got to knock him out. He's going to bring the fight to you, and he's going to apply the pressure until he's no longer able to do so because you get him up out of there. You know what I'm talking about? It is what it is, man. Not a fight that I have a high level of interest in, but Macau is the pick. Darren Elkins versus Julian Erosa, man. Darren, 40 years old, 5'10" with a 71-inch reach, currently a plus 300 underdog. And Julian, minus 380 favorite for Juicy J, 35 years old, 6'1" with a 74.5-inch reach, man. It is what it is. Juicy J is the pick. We have the damage and we have Juicy J, and I hope that Juicy J just knocks the damage the fuck out. Or club and subs him, cracks him, hurts him, and gets on him, man. Maybe the damage finds himself trying to go for some takedowns and, you know, get engaged in a little bit of wrestling and grappling with Julian Erosa, and we all know how that'll play out. More times than not, Julian Erosa will find that guillotine or that front choke, hit you with a necktie. He'll find a way to get you up out of there via submission if you want to play that wrestle fuck game with him after you don't like how things are going on the feet. Because Julian Erosa is an individual who possesses a bit of pop in each and every one of his individual shots. Both of these individuals, 29-11 for Darren Elkins, 30-11 for Julian Erosa. You know what I'm talking about? 59 victories between the two of them, 22 losses. A hell of a lot of fights. You know what I'm talking about? They're both experienced. They're both gats. They're both kill or be killed. They're both willing to go out on their shield. This should be fight of the fucking night. I don't think anybody else is going to come in there and look across the octagon and be willing to go balls to the fucking wall, just grab they nuts and go hard until they fall or the other man falls, like this matchup right here. Darren, the damage, and Julian, Juicy, they going to bring that motherfucking action. And we going to be blessed to have it happen. You know what I'm talking about? Julian's the pick, though. At minus 380, I don't like it, but I'll take it. Moving on, we have Chase versus Jimmy. We have the Dream versus A10. 41-year-old Jimmy, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach, taking on 25-year-old Chase, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. And this is a dangerous fight. This fight is a dangerous fight. 38-18, Jim Miller, Darren Elkins, and Julian Erosa. These motherfuckers are very dangerous individuals, man. Chase is dangerous in his own right, too, but these three motherfuckers do not give a fuck. You know what I'm talking about? It ain't about winning or losing. It's about going out there and bringing the fucking fight and giving you everything they got every fucking time. And if they lose and come out on the wrong side, they lose and come out on the wrong side, but they know they gave you everything. You know what I mean? Boy, oh boy, this is going to be... These two fights back-to-back, I hope they stay back-to-back because they're going to prove to be absolute fucking bangers. And if we get it 15 minutes out of both of them, it's going to be 30 minutes of fucking chaos. You know what I'm talking about? And I fucking love it. I love everything about it, man. It's Juicy J, though, and I got to rock with the Dream Chase, man. Maybe Jim finds a way to crack him, and I will have a play on Jim just because, you know, that's my guy every time. You know what I mean? I either go out on the shield with him or get motherfuckers out of there via submission. You know what I mean? Or via KO, TKO inside the distance. That's my guy. But I just feel like Chase is going to get him this time, man. I feel like Chase might just get him. And this might end up being Jimmy's last fight, man. You know? For somebody who's fought on all these cards, 100, 200, 300, he's fighting on 314. Like, come on, man. This kid is an absolute legend. It's crazy. At 41 years old, he younger than me. I'm fitting to be 43. You know what I'm talking about? Jimmy, 8'10". I'm going to rock with the Dream as far as the pick goes, but I will have a dog play. Jim Miller is a plus 500. Absolutely disrespectful for me not to have a dog play on him. The pick is Chase, but a dog play will be on Jim. You know what I'm talking about? via KO, TKO, or submission, and I'll sprinkle him in the method for knockout. I'll sprinkle him in the method for submission, and I'll sprinkle him in the method for decision, and just see how he hits because it's Jimmy, and he deserves that shit. Verna versus Jan, a women's high-level women's MMA matchup that I want absolutely nothing to do with. This should be a coin flip. This minus 155 for Verna and this plus 130 for Jan. I mean, it should be a coin flip. This should be a pick'em. It should be minus 110. You know what I mean? I get it. She's on a nice little, 4-fight run. Angie, Marina, Loopy, Amanda, after losing to the other Amanda, losing to Mackenzie, losing to Carla. Like, these wins are really nothing to call home about, with the exception of Angela Hill and the timeline she fought her. I don't care about this Marina Rodriguez loss. All of her losses and draws come from being in the UFC. She was that girl before she came to the promotion. She's not no more. I like Loopy. Loopy's solid. Amanda Lemos, Hebas, You know what I mean? Mackenzie Dern's solid. Carla Esparza is kryptonite to everybody. You know what I mean? Well, certain individuals. She was kryptonite to Rose. Obviously, she was kryptonite to old girl, too. And if I'm not mistaken, she was kryptonite to Jan as well. You feel me? But I like Jan's latest run more than I like Verna's latest run. Like, Verna's on a 4-fight win. She's 4-1 in her last 5. She lost to Amanda Hebas, beat Angie, Marina, Loopy, and Amanda Lemos. Before that, her losses were to Mackenzie Dern and Carla Esparza. You know what I'm talking about? Now, Jan, on the other hand, coming off a Tabitha Ritchie win and a Zhang Lei Wei loss, a Jessica Andre and a Mackenzie Dern win. There's an opponent that they have in common. You understand what I'm saying to you? They both also lost to Carla Esparza, but the Claudia Gadelia, they both beat Angela Hill, Carolina. Like, I don't know, man. To me, the latest run, their last 5 fights, you know what I'm talking about? We could do without that loss to Marina, but that's a good win over Mackenzie, solid over Jessica. We're not going to frown about the loss to Wei Lee, and that's a very solid win over Tabitha. And maybe it's just me, but Mackenzie Dern and Tabitha Ritchie, even Jessica Andrade, for what it's worth, man. I rate Mackenzie Dern and Tabitha Ritchie over Lupe Godinez, Marina Rodriguez and Amanda Lemos. They've both been in there with high levels of opposition. They're both solid. They're both well-rounded, and they've both proven that they can be dangerous. This should be a coin flip. This should be a pick'em. I'm rocking with Jan to be able to keep the fight upright and do the better body of work over the course of 15 minutes on the feet. This is not a 25-minute fight. This is a 15-minute fight. I know Wei Lee had success with the wrestling and grappling, and that is ultimately what allowed her to motherfucking, slide through to that motherfucking victory the way that she did. She wasn't liking how it was going on the feet because Jan was touching her the fuck up. And, Jan can get this thing down to the ground as well, but Wei Lee was just a bit better than her there. Styles make for matchups. I just don't know that stylistically Verna Yandaroba is that bad of a matchup for Jan as Wei Lee was. You understand what I'm saying to you? But that's to be determined. I'm going to rock with Jan. They're both solid. They're both well-rounded, but I'm rocking with Jan. Dan Ige versus Sean Woodson. My thing just hit 10%, so I'm going to slide out of here before it crashes out. Give me Dan Ige, man. I'm not high on Sean Woodson, man. Just not high on the guy, man. I get it. Alex Caceres, though, that win over Alex Caceres, he lost that fight. We all know he lost that fight in St. Louis, but it was in St. Louis, and everybody from St. Louis on the card that went to a decision, they won the fucking fight. You know what I mean? Now, the Padilla, that was a nice little boot bow bip to get him out of there. Charles Jourdain via split. Dennis Bazoo. Like this, the Julian Rosa, when he Darce choked Julian, when he was losing that fucking fight until he wasn't, and he caught that Darce choke on Julian. That was, I like, you know what I mean? That kind of, I was on Julian in that fight, so that kind of got me like, okay, this little motherfucker got a little something with him, man. And then that split decision over Youssef Salau is very deceiving because of how Youssef Salau is doing now. But if you look at that timeline, that split decision over Youssef Salau comes, in Youssef Salau's first run in the UFC. He lost to Ilia Topuria. He lost to Sung Woo Chu. He lost a split decision to Sean Woodson. He did a majority draw to Damon Blackshear, and they booted him out of the UFC. You know what I'm talking about? Since then, he's been back in the UFC, and he's had a better run. I don't see it, though, for Sean Woodson against Dan Ige, man. Dan Ige's not going to let him... He's not going to let him have it. You know what I mean? And I know he's on a bit of a roller coaster, but look at who he's fighting, man. Lerone Murphy, and we saw what he just did to Josh Emmett. Diego Lopez, he's fighting Volkanovski, and we've seen what he's been doing. Beat Andre Philly, Bryce Mitchell. He can get anybody up out of there, on a good night. Beat Nate, beat Damon, Masvar Evalaw, Josh Emmett. He's been in there with Gats, Edson Barboza, Calvin Guitar, Julio Arce all the way back in 2000. It's just different, man. It's just different. And I know there's a height and reach advantage, significantly so for Sean at 6'2" to Dan's 5'7" and 78 inches to Dan's 71. But just about everybody, not everybody, but just about everybody Dan Ige's ever been in there with, standing at 5'7" with a 71-inch reach, man, is had a bit of a height advantage and a bit of a reach advantage on him. Dan Ige, he about that work, man. He gonna rip that body. He gonna put Sean in a fight, and we gonna have to see what happens. We gonna have to see how good Sean Woodson really is, because I'm rocking with Dan Ige, man. Give me back-to-back dogs with Dominic Reyes over Nikita Krylov. And listen, I'm one of the ones that been saying, just because, Dominic Reyes was able to come in here and find a win over fucking, Anthony Smith and Dustin Jacoby, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's back. You know what I'm talking about? Let's jump on the Dominic Reyes train. It's just he managed to find them wins. Kind of like, Chuck Liddell, knocked out, loses a decision to fucking Keith Jardine, knocked out. Then he wins one against motherfucking Wanderlei Silva. Then he's knocked out by Rich Franklin. You know what I mean? Just because somebody wins one or two in the mix doesn't necessarily mean that they're back, man. You know what I mean? And I get it. These individuals that, was getting him out of there, Yuri, Jan. I guess Ryan got some power with that pop jab, but it's not like they're anything special, man. You know what I'm talking about? Nikita's a gat. Nikita's nobody to be slept on. You know what I'm talking about? He been going at it at a high level of opposition for a very long time. Prior to coming to the UFC, since being in the UFC. You know what I'm talking about? But if we're being honest with each other, he beats who he should, and he loses to who he should. You know what I'm talking about? It just is what it is. When he lost to Ovince in 2014, that was Ovince's time. Misha Serkinov in 2016, he had no business playing any kind of games with that man that could get him in a submission threat. You know what I mean? And these wins in between are nothing to call home about. Jan Blachowicz, then he gets the rematch with Ovince, and he gets Ovince up out of there. Glover Teixeira, he loses to. He beats Johnny Walker. He loses to Magomed. We could do without the loss to Paul Craig, but so did Magomed lost to Paul Craig. You can't follow him to the ground. You beat Gustafsson, Ozdemir, and Spann. You beat who you're supposed to beat, and you lose to who you're supposed to lose to, in my personal opinion. And I just feel like the resurgence and the confidence in Dominic Reyes, how does Nikita beat him? He's got to knock him out, right? Or he's got to submit him, and I don't think he's a better wrestler or a good enough wrestler or grappler to be dominant in that department against Dominic. Dominic is solid in that department. I think Dominic keeps it upright and does the better work over the course of 15 minutes to secure a unanimous decision on Saturday night. No finish. Yair versus Patricio. That's all you need to say for me. You know what I mean? It's Yair all day, every day, even on Sunday when I'm cashing these tickets, with all due respect to Patricio Pitbull. This ain't Bellator, man. You know what I'm talking about? And This ain't the individuals over there that you've been banging out with in Bellator. You know what I'm talking about? And when you look at the individuals who came from the UFC over to the Bellator, you know what I mean? When their time was up in the UFC, like Benson Henderson, you know what I mean? And I get it, it was a leg injury, but you still lost, man. You know what I'm talking about? Sergio Pettis, you beat Sergio Pettis on a decision, you know what I mean? So hats off to you there for whatever that's worth. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I'm just not high on him, bro. He likes to get into wars, he likes to get into bang outs. You know what I'm talking about? He'll go out on his shield, and I think that's what's going to happen to him with Yair. I think Yair is going to light him the fuck up, with all due respect. Yair's the pick. Bryce Mitchell versus Gene Silva. Give me Gene Silva. Give me Gene Silva to get this one done. Possibly via unanimous decision, man. Maybe he knocks Bryce Mitchell the fuck out, you know? Or maybe he finds a way to win a decision. You know what I mean? Maybe Bryce Mitchell has a funny, you know what I mean? A funny entrance to one of his takedowns, man. Because Gene's no chump on the ground either, man. Gene's no chump in the jiu-jitsu department. You feel me? This is where we see how good Gene really is, though. Because after being knocked out the way Bryce was knocked out, you know, by old boy, Josh Emmett, you know what I mean? The way he came back on Kron Gracie, I can see this one going to a decision. I can see Bryce Mitchell surviving 15 minutes. I can see him getting cracked. I can see him getting hurt. I can see him having a bit of his own moments if he's able to secure a takedown. Get a little bit off on the feet. I don't know why I see this one going 15. Gene's the pick via KO, TKO, or points. I don't know why, man. Mike versus Patty. And I don't want this thing to get to 5%, because when it tells me it's on 5%, it's going to cut me off, and I'm going to have to do this bitch all over again. Fuck that. I'm going to charge it up and tap back in here in a little bit and do these most confident picks, man. And, you know, touch on some other shit real quick. I'm going to rock with Patty, man. I'm going to rock with Patty by decision. Give me Patty to get this one done via decision. Michael Chandler's not the easiest one to beat via submission. He has lost via submission once in the past, via KO, TKO 4 times, and via decision 4 times. Patty, if I'm not mistaken, can get it done anywhere. 5 knockout wins, 11 submission wins, 6 decision wins, and I think he's going to have 7 decision wins after Saturday. I think he's going to beat Michael Chandler up. I think Michael Chandler's going to get bumblebeed up. I think one of them bumblebees is going to split. You know, if Patty gets on his back, he's going to do the infamous jumping backwards. He's going to put on a show. He's going to give us a great fight. It's going to be a good night of entertainment. I don't know that Patty's going to find the finish, though. Mike is not the easiest person to submit. Head and shoulders, that little compact motherfucker don't got much of a neck, you know what I'm talking about? Hence why he just pops it right the fuck out or goes like this. And you just got his chin and you got to crank him. You know what I mean? He's not the easiest one to submit, man. I think Patty's going to piece him up, though. I think Patty's going to touch him up and just outclass him on the feet. And we're going to be talking about how tough and durable Michael Chandler is at the end of the night. You know what I mean? And Patty's going to get a performance of the night, 50K, on top of the win bonus. This is the one that hurts me the most, man. The main event. Volkanovski versus Lopez, and I'm taking a slight dog at plus 125 and Diego Lopez, and it breaks my heart to do so. I got a lot of love for Volk, man. But I see this, you know, Islam Makhachev via unanimous decision. I know everything that came before that. But I see this Islam Makhachev loss, then the win over Yair, right? And then the loss by knockout to Islam, and the loss by knockout to Ilya. And I see a loss by knockout coming to Diego. And if Volk stays around and fights again, maybe he wins another decision. and then maybe he gets knocked out again before he leaves. Like it hurts me to say it, you know what I mean? But when I look at this shit, I wholeheartedly look at this, man, and I feel like I'm seeing another Chuck Liddell exit. You understand what I'm saying to you? Like, I don't want to see it, but it's going to happen. I hated watching Chuck go out the way Chuck went out, man. I'm 42. I'll be 43 in July. I'm a motherfucker who's been watching this since the very first one. Early 90s on the scramble box in my step pop's room, man. You know what I'm talking about? So I've been on this journey with these motherfuckers that some of them are no longer here anymore. You know what I mean? And it was sad to see how some of them went out, man. You know what I mean? Like Chuck, you get slumped by, he got slumped by Rampage. You know what I mean? Lost the fucking decision to Keith, the mean of Dean, Keith Jardine. You know what I mean? Gets knocked out by Rashad Evans, skates by on a win, gets the decision, I think it was, over Wanderlei Silva, gets knocked out by Rich Franklin. It was fucked up to see. And just like how I said, I know everything before the Islam loss. And then there was the Yair win, then the Islam loss again, and the Ilya loss. I know everything with Max and the Korean Zombie and Brian Ortega and Max, Jose Chad. Like, I know everything that came before that, but we know everything that came before Chuck fighting Rampage again. You know what I mean? He should have known what it was hitting for. He was on top of the world in the UFC when he went over to the Pride to fight Rampage and got the fucking towel thrown in because he was beating that boy so bad with elbows to the body on the ground. He should have known what it was hitting for when Rampage came over there to get that UFC title, man. That was hard to watch, man. And then to watch him lose a fucking decision to Keith Jardine just to get knocked out by Rashad, just to get knocked out by Rich Franklin. And Rich Franklin was my guy. You know what I'm talking about? Undefeated at light heavyweight, went down to middleweight, became the champ, and went back up to light heavyweight. Like, I think he left light heavyweight beating the shit out of Ken Shamrock. You know what I'm saying? Like, he fucked up Ken Shamrock and then dropped down to middleweight. Fought the Evan Tanners and all that. You know what I mean? Rest in peace. And got the title. Rich Franklin was that guy. And went back up to light heavyweight and fucking knocked Chuck out on his way out. God damn. But yeah, that's what I see for Volk, man. So I'm going to rock with Diego, man. Unfortunately, I think Diego can get this one done by knockout, man. He's right there at 36, and it's that button's been touched. You know what I mean? And it's been touched back to back. It might look like a whack-a-mole attack when he gets touched back to back to back on Saturday night. Just every time he pop his head up, bop, it's going back down. The fuck back down in that hole. You know what I mean? I hate to say it, man, and I'm going to hate to see it, and I hope I don't see it. I hope he gets a fucking finish over Diego. Like, bitch, I'm still here. What's happening? I just don't know that we're going to see it, man. So, we'll run over that real quick one more time from top to bottom, and I'm going to slide up out of here before this phone cuts off, man. We rocking with Nora at -190 over Haley's +160. We taking Marcos -355 over Trayshawn's +280. We're taking the Tibetan Eagles -225 over Mitch's +185. We're taking Macau's -280, 205 over Dumas's +165. We're taking Juicy J's -380 over the Damages +300. That's Juliana Rosa at -380 over Darren Elkins at +300. We are taking The Dream over A10. That is Chase Hooper at -700 over Jim Miller at +500. But we will have a dog play on Jim Miller because he earned that shit. We are taking Jan at +130 over Verna's -155. We are taking 50K Dan Egaze +135 over the Sniper Sean Woodson's -165. We are taking the Devastator Dominic Reyes to go out here and devastate Nikita Krylov and not to get devastated once again. But we're rocking with Dominic at +165 over Nikita's -195. We are rocking with Yair's -200 over the Pitbull Patricio's +165. We're rocking with Jeans -355 over the Nasty Bright Missiles +260. We are rocking with the Baddie over Iron. We are rocking with Patty Pimblets -160 over the Iron Michael Chandler's +135. And in the main event, we are rocking with Diego Lopez's +125, unfortunately, over Volkanovski's -150. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 4 dogs on a 13 fight card. You understand what I'm saying to you? And that's that with that. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. This has been the full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 314. I'll be tapping back in here shortly to go over the most confident picks, my most confident underdogs, and to talk about my personal parlays that I'm invested into already for this weekend. So I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Stay tapped in. Peace and blessings.